you to think about this question right here. Women turn their children into pick-me's and simps based on performative love. That's kind of what with what Issa was talking about, with the performative love part that he was discussing. I believe that that behavior is true, that it turns children into pick-me's and simps based on performative love, because the daughters that those types of mothers raise are performing for their mother's approval, and the sons that those type of women raise perform for their mother's approval as well. How that translates into their regular everyday life in dealing with the opposite sex is that the girls that can't get their mother's love try to make men perform for her love, attention, affection, and nurturing, just like her mom made her do. And just like and then it gets compounded if she sees her father try to perform for her mother's validation. Whether he's married or not is a different level to it as well. Then if they're not married and she sees her dad get respected by a different woman, then that's a different layer of confusion and contention potentially. And those same things also matter for a son for a different set of reasons too, because that same scenario that creates this pick-me mentality in women, because women have a different definition of what a pick-me is. They think they're just performing for male validation. Well, the truth is the underlying behavior is that they're performing for their mother's validation that they never got as a kid. Period. Because if they got their mother's validation, they would trust what she says. But instead, they go out and do the opposite because their mom never got the validation that she said she qualified for. So they never seen a solid example where the mother actually got what they wanted and was happy with it. On the other side of that, the son sees the same behavior and he performs for his mother's validation, doesn't get it till he revolts. And then he goes out and he pursues the vanity of women and not the character, because he's been performing based on the characteristic requirements that his mother's been giving him. And then when he can't get that type of validation met, even though he probably did everything she told him to do or that she would appreciate, and it still wasn't enough to satisfy her requirement, he goes out, and that's the only psychological imprint that he has with the opposite sex. So he pursues the most shallow women and believes that making kids with them is going to hold them in place like a placeholder and ruin them potentially for the next guy. And he has some level of control over her, just like his mom has control over him psychologically. And that in turn makes her second fiddle to his mother because he's still trying to please her. And in reality, it's just another side relationship. Like, until you could cuss your mama out or put her in her place and put the right boundary up, your relationships are going to suffer as a man. And what's crazy is that most men by the age of 13, when they're still boys, they have no working authority over how strong they actually are, because they've been made to work for their mother's approval instead of work on themselves. And then the women that have sons, they don't realize that they're just setting their boys up to get manipulated by women who will play on a man's ego, because our requirement list is so short and it's so shallow in general, but our list will be short, but the women will create a list for their sons to live up to for a woman that was never taught what her value is either. So these people keep reproducing with each other, from this standpoint. That is the common cycle, because you can't replicate something that you've never been raised by. So when we talk about the grace of men and how it got to this point, this is what women wanted. Regardless of what they think they deserve, they'll tell you what they deserve. But the work that it takes to earn it is completely a different conversation than what they think they deserve. That's what men need to understand. Pay attention to what they react to, not what they talk about, not what they care about. Pay attention to what they react to and what they're willing to do to get it. If they're willing to go without you to go get it, then they know that it's a basic requirement. But when it gets down into character and trying to establish real connection that men absolutely want with a woman, they're less likely to do that because it requires them to hold their mother accountable, and their mother don't want to have that conversation with them to tell them what they did. The mother don't want to have a conversation about how they was a bad parent. The mother don't want to talk about her mistakes to the son or the daughter. And that has a completely different impact on both. So with that being said, I greatly appreciate Issa jumping up here, giving us his take and talking about the grace of men and how, even though we want better communication and connection, we also understand what our responsibility is to establish that. The experience that some men have is going to shape this conversation a lot more. So hopefully you guys are tuned in and you want to have a say-so in it. And I particularly want to talk to a lot of men that's been raised by women at this point, because men raised by men, we got it. Two-parent home situation, we got it. It's some things I can't relate to. And I'm not going to pretend that I can relate to everything because I don't want to come off as insulting. I want to be as compassionate to other people's experiences as possible, because women need to hear what they do to men from the time that they're boys. They need to hear it, not us, because there's enough legal infrastructure to sort us out. And the data and statistics are there and the outcomes are there. But more men need to come tell their story, and it's the platform to do it. Welcome to Beyond the Algorithm, where life actually happens. And I thank you for joining this discussion here on the Accountable Masculinity channel. Thank you. All right, folks. Appreciate you sticking with me to the end. This has been another episode of Beyond the Algorithm. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Go get the book. And most importantly, I will see you beyond the algorithm, because that's where life actually happens.